ensuring that your sheets are straight. Because otherwise, if you get them and start twisting over, they start to look a bit ordinary and you go, what's going to happen now? And then you don't like it and you wish that you'd gotten Kenny to come out and install it for you. Gee, I talk a lot of rubbish sometimes. Hey guys, while you're watching the video, if you like it, hit the button. If you want to subscribe to see more stuff of what we do, because we've got heaps of new stuff coming out, hit that subscribe button, and also that bell apparently that notifies you as well. So if you like notifications, I've got all mine turned off, but if you like notifications so you can see all our latest and greatest stuff, hit that button as well. Thanks for watching the video and enjoy, right? See if you learn something. G'day guys, and welcome back to Kenny Talks Cladding here at my place, chucking on this fantastic basalt mat by Colorbond, Highland tray, 165 and 265 standing seam, feature wall in my outdoor abode. Thank you for coming back. It's part 2 of the cladding section when we get right into it and make the thing look amazing, make it look beautiful, make it look like you want to have on your place. Right, well, I hope so. Well, I'd want it on my place, that's why I'm doing it. I've got to come clean with you guys. When I ordered the sheeting, I ordered one, not quite tall enough. This one right here. So I don't have my helper Alex here today, so it's me, and I'm going to bring Amelia in because she wants to have a bit of fun. She likes getting on the video, and I think she takes a bit after her father. Another thing she loves is Colorbond. How good is it? Alright guys, I'm going to get set up. Let's get this done. Rightio, so I've got my Highland tray sheet sitting on my 2 sawhorses. I've got my tools out, my rubbish box out, I've moved stuff out of the way, I've blown it, made it a nice clean, clear working space. Got to be clean to be safe. Got my gloves, gonna throw them on. Now it is cold outside, but I've warmed up, so I know I love the cats. But this is work, this is serious. Make sure we start with our gloves. Very important because cuts hurt. Rightio, so our first sheet that we've got sitting right here is going to go on the wall. Right here, clipping onto this 165 sheet. We're going to have to measure across here because there's going to be a little bit of a cutout at the top and the bottom. This one's quite a difficult sheet and probably the most difficult of all the sheets on this whole wall. So, how do we measure this one up? There's a few little tricks and challenges, and I'm going to see if I can convey them to you so that you've got the best opportunity of doing it yourself at home. The measurement here to the window from the center of the under to the window is 240 millimeters tight. So I'm going to knock 5 mils off that and make it 235 millimeters. Now we need to measure up from the bottom of the toe mold up to the underside of where this is going to get cut. Using our spacer on the bottom. Press down the spacer, and I've got a tight measurement of 720 millimeters. So, like I did before, I'm going to take 5 mil off that, I'm going to make it 715 millimeters. So now what we do here is up the under of this sheet, we're going to measure up to 715 millimeters and put a mark. Now we need to measure from the same point again to where it's going to come over the top of the sheet. Now I got the measurement of 1915 and that's only got about 1 mil to play, so I want to give it a few extra millimeters to play, so I want to make it a 1920 cut. So I'm going to mark on here again 1920 millimeters. Now remember this measurement here, which is 235? Between those two marks that I've marked on here, I want to measure across that 235 millimeters. So I'm measuring that from the over rib, which is The over rib is the rib that sits over the top of the under rib. I know it's fairly self-explanatory. So the over rib, which is on our right, I'm going to measure 235 millimeters from the over to the mark, 235. And I've put one mark at the low point at 7:15, and I'm going to put the other mark at the high point of 19:20. So the next thing I'm going to do is measure from the bottom of the sheet up to the very top, up in this corner, to get the length of my sheet and where I need to cut. We've got a tight measurement of 3070, and I'm going to take the 5mm off that to give it a little bit of play to make it fit, so I don't make sure we put it in and then go, ooh, we've got to take a little bit off. So I take that 5mm off it and it gives us 3065. So I'm going to transfer that measurement now onto the sheet. Next thing I need to do is find out what the length on the other side of the sheet is. And how do I do that? I've got to measure 265 millimeters, or the width of the sheet, across, put a mark, and then measure the full height then. So the measurement we have there is 3045. Same thing again, we take the 5mm off, 3040. So I'm going to transfer that now. The next measurement we need to get for this sheet is right here up this rib. So that rib hits the flashing that we put in there, and so we need to find out what the height that is so we can transfer to this, because we've got to take a little bit of a cutout of the over of this sheet so that when it sits on there, it sits on really nicely. And otherwise it's not going to sit on this rib because of that flashing. So we have the measurement of 2735, and again the 5mm off, make it 2730. So I'll transfer that over here as well. And I'm going to put this down on the rib of the sheet, 2730. Now we need to measure from the rib out to where it's going to clear and go around and up to the top of the sheet. $20mm, so I'll mark that on the sheet now. Now, all the measurements come from the center of a rib, not from the edge of a rib. It's very important to make sure you go from the center of the rib. So, see the camera there? This is my little daughter Amelia, and she's going to give me a hand. So, Amelia, you've got the big job of flicking the chalk line. Are you ready? I'm going to hold this out from line to line, and you're going to flick it in the middle. Come around under here. And you're just going to pick it up with your fingers and drop it, like really to high. Pull it as high. There we go. Perfect. Have you ever done that before? When? You've never done that. Oh, we meant to do the other rail. So you've had, how many times have you done that before? Once. And you managed to do that. See, mums and dads at home, you guys can do it too. It's not that hard. Thank you. Yes.
So I've flipped the sheet over and I'm marking the sheet out on the back. I'm chalking it out and I'm going to cut the mark out on the very back of it so that I take all the stress on one side. Because we're so close to the rib, I need to cut both sides out. This gives us a really, really nice, easy and neater finish so that when we cut the other side, it works really, really well.
So I'm going to cut up a little bit and do a first rough cut, then I'm going to cut back across and do a more finished cut. And the same thing again, my first rough cut. So now I'm going to cut across this section here for my factory cut, which is quite challenging. You just cut the outside of the rib first, and as you're cutting over the top, keep going and cut that out, and then fold that down, cut that off from underneath. So now we come in with the greens to cut down. So I'm going to start further back. Still actually going to do a half cut off, and then I'll go through and trim one last time, just so that we make sure to get the minimal stress on the steel from the cut. Now you may not notice any rippling happening now when you're cutting that. When that goes up on the wall and we put the flashing on, that's going to be where the rippling will just show and it will look horrible, and that's where you've got to pay real attention now at this stage, so that once it goes on the wall, it'll come up the way that you'd expect it to come up perfectly. Could you imagine how difficult this would be up a 4th floor scaffold, putting cladding like this on? Now I've got that all cut out. The bottom and the top are cut to the measurements that I want, and I've just got this last bit to cut off here. And this is where I'm going to take my time and do it as slow as I can. In this situation here, you would definitely not use automated shears, because they will cause this to ripple more than anything else that you could do. You definitely want to use a really good sharp pair of tin snips, manually operated tin snips. There we have it. There is that cut. Most difficult cut in this whole process. Now we have our next challenge, which is to cut this rib off. This is going to be a really, really difficult cut. So I'm going to have to cut the back of that fold off, and then cut this fold down here, and then come through and cut it off. We're getting there, aren't we? Look at that. So now I can come through here and do my nice factory cut. Now, when you're cutting a really nice cut, you want to do short little cuts, little snips like this, not big cuts like that, little short little cuts. So now we've got the sheet cut, and it's time to give it its first trial up to see whether or not there's any little modifications that need to be done. I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So let's have a go and let's get it on the wall. Now, because the sheet is really weak now, in that spot there especially, I'm going to have to be more careful when holding it. So you want to hold it more like a flashing and twist and pick it up like this. So you want to carry it like this now that you've cut that rib off, because the last thing you want to do is have it fold over on you and cause some little stress points and take away all that really good work that you've already put in. One thing that I haven't done yet is take the little notch out over the top of the window here where it goes into the window head. It's a delicate little cut that needs to be done so that it goes in underneath the head and over the head. So again, I measure 195. Always good to double check the measurement and get an exact.
There's a few challenges that we have when installing the sheet here on the corner. One of those is that we need to install it, we need to slip it in underneath the bottom flashing, the top flashing, and it needs to go up into the feet flashing. So there's a lot of care that needs to be taken when putting this in. One, not to scratch it, not to scratch the flashings, and to make sure it goes in without bending it. So as you can see right here, you've got that little V cut taken out of the sheet, which goes in around the head flashing, which weakens the sheet right where I've got my hand right now. I need to get in there and I need to manipulate that so that it goes in, but without damaging it, just to make sure that it fits, because it's at that point there that if I was to bend that or twist it, we can create the oil can effect in that location. So it's a lot of care in just in that spot. And as you can see, I just lifted it up, went in, and it fit beautifully.
This sheet is proving to be very difficult, but with all the little things that we've done to make it go in, it's fitting like a glove.
Getting it to fit nicely was a bit of an effort, but we did get there, and now we've got to make sure you go through and clip the sheets in to make sure that it fits properly, right? That's what that banging noise is. It's the clip, the rib of the over clipping over the under of the sheet.
This little part at the top is proving to be a little bit tight, so we don't go jam it in. We need to make it so it sits there nice and loose. So I'm just going to cut a little bit out of the top of the rib. I'm just going to cut a little bit out of the top of that flashing to give it a bit more room to slide back. If it stays tight like that and you push it in, there goes all your hard work, and then your oil canning starts. No one wants oil canning.
So basically I could take this sheet off, and that would be the best result, to take the sheet off and then put it back on again after cutting the little notch. But instead I just cut it while it was up there.
It sits nice and freely now. So here we go. We're going to start to make a move now and just copy and cut, you'll have a hole at the bottom ones in the pattern that you just choose, the 165 and 265. Then you have your top ones that you're going to cut the bottom of, and you can cut the rake on it as well for each one. I'm not going to bore you all that, so let's time lapse. Let's do the time lapse again. YouTubers, we got the wall done. It's taking its time, but it's coming up looking absolutely fantastic. Now that that's on, I think I'll just retract a little bit and let you know that short sheets have a tendency to twist. So when you're putting them on, this is whether it's on the roof or it's on the wall, the shorter they are, the easier it is to get out of whack. So the challenge in this wall here was that the bottom sheets need to line up with the top sheets, and we need to make sure that they're spot on. So it's not just making sure that they're level, it's making sure that it matches up with the top. So lots of fun was had while doing that. Easy way to make sure your sheets are straight is with a level. Alright? Just a simple level like this, or just a tiny little level. It really doesn't matter what the level is. Sing Basically, that translated means make sure when you put your sheets on that you put them on level. They'll easily twist on you the shorter the sheets. They'll start leaning backwards and forwards. So you don't want them to lean too far out because you need them to look good. And that's no point of doing any of it without it looking good. So make sure you keep them level. Rightio, well you remember how we cut this one out over here? I'm now going to cut this next one out, get to the end, and then we're on to the side flashings. Here we are. The last sheet to go on to finish this masterpiece. Spot on. Just like a ball one. There you have it. The basalt wall, 165, 265 in basalt matte, Colorbond. From there to there, what a beautiful picture. I'm going to stand back here and let you guys have a proper look. Wow, how good is that? My son's inside. Behind there, you might be able to see him. But really, how good is it? How it changes. Let me take you off the stand. So we've got all of our wall sheets on, and now it's time to put our two window flashings on. So now we're going to put this flashing on and this flashing on, but we're going to do it in two parts. First we're going to be putting on an L flashing, which runs from the top to the bottom, which we use to seal the perimeter of the window so that any water that could get in is not. It's going to come around the outside. Secondly, then we'll use a U-shaped cap, which will slide in underneath the top here. We'll mine to the corner here, it will slide over the top of that there, mine to that, to give it a really, really nice finished look with minimal fixings. Rightio. So first thing we need to do is put our gloves back on. Very important. So this here is the L flashing. It's a really basic little flashing that is, I think, 25mm by 25mm, and the colour is on the outside of it. So when we put this on the wall, it's going to go on the wall like that. So the colour is pointing outwards, and on this side, on there like that with the colour pointing outwards as well. So first thing we need to do is measure our window for our height of how long we need to cut those flashings down to. So we've got 12.30 tight, so I'm going to cut that down to 12.20. 12.20. I'm going to do both at the same time because they're the same measurement. Then using the metal fatigue, there's one gone, the other one. So here we have this, the L flashing. We're going to sit this in pretty much in line, maybe just inside the end of this head flashing, and just inside the end at the bottom also, so that there's room for our next flashing to sit over the top. Once you have it in the final position and you're happy with, so put your mark on there. Once you've got your marks, it's a great idea to flick a chalk line down on those marks. So what we're now going to do is take our flashing here. We need to fix this onto this sheet. We want to make sure that when we fix this onto the sheet, we're not going to actually cause any damage or put any stress on the sheet behind it. So now we're going to fix this onto we're going to temporarily fix this to the sheet before taking it off and then sealing it. So using a clamp and one of our little waving head screws, I'll go to the bottom. Something you want to check. So this side went on really well. This side has, as I've clamped it, it's created a bit of a wave behind it. So I need to unclamp it, I need to take that screw out, and you find out where that wave has started, and then start again without the wave. Because this here, when you cut out around the side of the window, the sheet here gets really lazy, but it gets also stuck. So it's lost its integrity from its bending that way, which is what it was naturally made to do when going through the roll forming machine. So we've cut this out, and now we need to try and achieve no oil canning and make it so there's no ripples and give it a really smooth, perfect finish. Now it's quite challenging and it's a lot more difficult than it might look. So it's just a matter of persisting and keep trying to get it smooth, because if you try and shove it and push it, it will oil can, and we don't want that. So to remove oil canning and to minimize oil canning, everything needs to be as relaxed as possible. So the best result with Colorbond is by having it as relaxed as it possibly can. If you're having it jammed and tight, it's going to give potentially a really poor result. So I'm going to persist with this and maybe clamp from the top and work my way down. That's come up a treat. Absolutely mint. Let me show you. So you can see on this side here, 1, 2, 3, 4. We only required 4. And the join down there is fantastic. However, we had quite a bit of trouble on this side, and as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws. And it's come up pretty nice. You can see that there's a gap at the top, so I may need to put one more in up there. But you can see how that's now come to a nice finish to eliminate the oil canning. Where before, when I did it in the same method as the other side, it ended up being really twisted and warped and it was not going to look good. Right, so before we put any silicone on, we need to make sure we clean it. And this is my 40-60 white vinegar mix that we use to clean Colorbond. Will not void the warranty like other products that you put on the Colorbond. However, it will remove all the oil, remove all the gunk and stuff that's on the sheets, and give the silicone a really good chance to have its best result, right? So it's gonna like the difference between running long jump at high school level and running long jump at Olympic level. Maybe not 2020, but 21. So we want to give it the best chance we can, right? Okay, so you want to start just by spraying it down. Get it nice and wet. Got a bit in the eyes then. It's natural white vinegar, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're wondering whether or not it's easy to clean, of course it's easy to clean. White vinegar and water mixed, and look, it's so simple. Even my 6-year-old daughter can do it. Now, generally it will dry really quickly by itself because of the vinegar in it, but just to make sure, give it a nice quick wipe over with a dry, clean rag. Microfiber towels are fantastic for this type of thing. So now what we want to do is up in this top corner, which is a major leak point, we want to seal up in this corner and then down the inside. Not the outside, but the inside, where the L flashing is going to be fixed, and it'll help adhere to that and it'll seal behind there. So that's what we wanted to do first. So let's do this side, I'll go through. So up in this top corner, you want to fill that corner you want to put just a dab down here as well. Now you want to get this flashing on as fast as you can before the silicone cures. So don't muck around. As soon as you put it on, have it ready to go. That's better. So you see all this excess silicone. You see why we put the silicone to this side rather than to the other side? So that we can clear it off very easily to an area that's going to be covered by a flashing. The last thing we want to do is get silicone everywhere because it's not a lot of fun to deal with. Little offcuts of tin are fantastic for scraping silicone off. cool. That's great. I'm really happy with that result. I'll just repeat that on the other side.
One of the great things about silicone is that you can never really put too much on, as long as you're willing to clean off the excess. But you don't want to put not enough on. You want to make sure that you can put it on. It's easy enough to get off. You can clean it off with citric acid wipes or things like that. Now you can see here, I've got the pre-drilled holes already, and with that I'm trying to line up the top screw into the first hole that I've got, and then that'll squeeze in and press into the silicone. Then I proceed to put the fixings in from the top, working my way down in the same manner so that the sheet will all come together in an even manner, like stitching something together. You don't just try and put one at the top, one at the bottom and try and feel it together. You start from the top and work your way down.
Now this one here, I've actually got a little bit of silicone on the edge, so
it's very easy to clean the silicone off. We use citric acid wipes, or it's like a orange power. It's brilliant at getting the silicone off.
little plastic packets, like a Maxim packer, they're really, really good to clean silicone off. Makes it easy and they're cheap, and you can just throw them in the bin once you're done.
Basically, that's for the bulk of the silicone, when you've got chunky silicone, and then you just wipe it off with the wipes or your citric power, orange power.
Let's give you a closer look of what the silicone is like up close. So you can see the oozing coming out through. And we're sealed up underneath there. And that there, I've got a seal there now. And then that'll get some sealant in that corner upon completion. And then that little top corner, that'll get some sealant to finish it off. So here we are now, we're down to the final last little bit of putting the two side flashings on and finishing them off. So this is what we use to fix our flashings on. It's a multi-grip rivet made by Ideal Fasteners, and it's painted, custom painted basalt matte. Now they can custom paint to whatever color you want. They're a fantastic supplier, they're really good to work with, and they're constantly trying to improve their own products over and over again, regardless of what the competition's doing. So they're really, really good to work with, and especially in developing new systems and products of our own. We really like them and highly recommend their products. Their paint is really good as well, it's second to none. Alright, so we've got our riveter, we've got our drill. Now, I use a number 20 rivet because the number 20 rivet, it's basically a 4mm rivet, and it's got a bit more of a structural integrity to it opposed to the smaller 8th bit rivets or the number 30s. So, now that we're all on, tuck over the side, over it there. Slid up there perfectly, slide in there perfectly. Oh, wonderful. It grabs the silicone on the bottom corner there, hits the silicone in that top corner. Oh, this is magic. So really happy with the result there. So I want to put one rivet right in the side of here. So you've got to be really, really careful not to scuff the sheet with your chuck. Another one down the bottom, right down here. So I have to put a rivet. You may think that I need to put a rivet in the front here, because let's see how it's diving in. But there's another trick that we do, so that everything looks really, really pretty. What that is putting a rivet straight through the top, and that'll hold that to sit out there like that. So now, it doesn't want to go anyway. There you go. What do you think? Worst part about it now is the dirty window, so I'll give that a quick clean.
Thank you very much for joining me on this little adventure, getting all of these videos put together, and thank you for watching and everyone's comments so far up until now. I'm sure that now that this series is complete, you will have a whole heap more questions on how to do other types of walls or different types of claddings, and that is what I'm here for. I would love it if anyone wants to drop a comment in here on the YouTubes. Please do that, and I will endeavour to get back to every single person. If you want help with your cladding at home and you're in southeast Queensland, you can request a site visit on the website at www.mycladders.com.au. But this is what we love to do, guys, and if we haven't been able to answer your questions so far in this video series, please let us know. Drop a line in the comments, and look forward to talking to you and helping you with your Colorbond journey in the future.
So there you have it. Basalt mat 165265 custom feature wall at my place. Now that you've seen me do it, why don't you give it a go yourself? It's not that difficult. Some time, some patience, some forward planning. It's very enjoyable. I'm really, really satisfied. Working with Colorbond, with their fantastic matte steel range, can be quite difficult if you rush it and treat it like normal material. However, by taking the time and the effort and the energy and having some patience, you can come out with a result like this. And you can do that at home. You can give me a call at My Cladders and see if there's something I can do to help. If you just want us to do it, most certainly just give us a yell and we'll see what we can do. We're based in Queensland and we have teams all over Australia that are able to do installs for you. So, how do you like it? It's alright, isn't it? Basalt mat 165265 by Colorbond, Highland tray.